Dinghai Fusheng Records. Chapter 79. Scouting ahead. We don't have enough forces. Xian faced the map of the region from Chang'an to Luoyang, from Shao County to Jiangnan, as he spoke. Originally His Majesty didn't want to wage war, and before we left he especially exhorted that if we didn't have to fight, then we shouldn't. Not fighting is impossible, Chen Xing said. The north and the south will sooner or later have to fight such a battle, Xie Shixing. Think about the good side, now you have an ally. Luoyang was enveloped by the gentle spring light. It was already the second month, when the poplar blossoms filled the air, and in a little while longer, when it came time for the Shangxi festival, the spring of the Central Plains would become the most beautiful sight in the human realm. Several days had already passed since the night they formed a blood pact with Murong Chang, and the sky was clear, with the sunlight shining down warmly on Chen Xing's body. He didn't want to spend his time scheming and plotting for their next move in this flower-filled season. He didn't want to do the tasks that they had at hand, he just wanted to go out and play. But Xian still dragged him in to discuss their detailed plans instead. Originally Xiang Shu had decided to toss matters over to Xian and not care about anything anymore, but Xian kept mulling it over, and in the end he couldn't just put it out of his mind. Murong Chang agreed to an alliance based on the martial god's reputation, Xian said a little helplessly. Otherwise, why would he trust us Han people? Back in the day, Huan Wen and Wang Meng killed many Xianbei people. Ah well, the most important stage of this plan is to somehow trick Fu Jian and Wang Zi into coming to Luoyang. As long as they leave the main battlefield of Chang'an, then there is hope for everything. Chen Xing slowly began to realize that Xian, this cheaply won Shixing of his, was actually pretty skilled. Ever since he entered the exorcism department, everything had been planned out in methodical detail, like he was the brain power of the operation. His attitude towards the current political situation was not like Chen Xing, who spent every day staring into the mists and seeing flowers. Rather, he could see the flow of many hidden currents with a single glance. He nixed Xiang Shu's suggestion to throw the Drought Fiend troop into chaos. After all, if the 300,000-strong Drought Fiend troop was no longer under someone's control, then it would result in severe consequences of wanton destruction and slaughter for the region surrounding Luoyang. Additionally, Wang Zi might have set down ambushes in the Longmen Mountains, and he could just be waiting for them to fall into the traps on their own. The best plan was for everyone to wait patiently for their enemy to strike first before they countered that move. Xian rethought the troop movements many times, making preparations in case the peace talks didn't succeed, and Fu Jian, in a rage, sent his troops down towards Jiangnan, so that those troops would then be caught in a pincer attack with Murong Chang's silver cavalry. However, no matter how he arranged it, the Baifu guards and the silver cavalry were only 10,000 strong, and the strength of their troops compared to their enemies had just too great of a disparity. I'll let you think it over slowly. Chen Xing's brain was wholly jumbled and confused from this talk of troop movements, locations for garrisons, and war strategies that would allow their troops to win in mountain valleys and on flat land. He decided to get up to go find Xiang Shu. Xiang Shu was currently in the inn study writing a letter, while Feng Qianjun and several of the swordsmen under his employ were waiting to one side. When Chen Xing arrived, Xiang Shu had just finished sealing the letters, and he handed the 3 letters to the waiting people. "Are you sending letters to Qi Le Chuan?" Chen Xing asked. Xiang Shu didn't respond. He merely said to the couriers, "Even if your life is forfeit, these letters cannot fall into the hands of other people." The couriers nodded and replied in the affirmative. Feng Qianjun received one of the letters, and he said to Chen Xing, "I'll see you later, Tianqi." "What is he going to do?" Chen Xing asked, puzzled. Xiang Shu, as always, didn't respond. After he washed his hands, he got up and asked, "Where's Xiao Shan?" Xiao Shan was currently lying outside in the yard soaking up the sun. Chen Xing chased behind Xiang Shu, asking, "What are you sending Feng Dage off to do?" Xiang Shu replied, "I'm having him think of ways to keep Fu Jian in check." Wolf spawn, it's time to get up and do work. Xiao Shan lazily turned over, before sitting up with a petulant expression. On a daily basis, he spoke very little as usual, and he was only very docile towards Xiang Shu and Chen Xing. Sometimes, when Chen Xing watched Xiang Shu and Xiao Shan, he kept feeling like they were a father and son. If there came a day in the future when Xiang Shu had a son, perhaps they would interact in much the same way. Where are you going? Chen Xing watched Xiang Shu and Xiao Shan get on the inn-provided horses. Xiang Shu was a little impatient, as if he was waiting for him. Xiao Shan said puzzledly, I don't know. Xiang Shu asked, are you getting on or not? If not, then I'm going. Wait. Chen Xing hurried to chase after Xiang Shu. Xiang Shu's horse hadn't gone very far, and he stopped and waited for Chen Xing. However, when Chen Xing caught up to him, Xiang Shu once again turned and started moving away. Chen Xing chased after him on the main thoroughfare for a bit, but then he grew angry, and he glared at Xiang Shu from afar. Get on ba, Xiang Shu said finally. Finally, Chen Xing climbed onto the horse's back, hugging Xiang Shu's waist. Like this, he was brought out of Luoyang by Xiang Shu, and they headed due north on the road. The city guards are watching us, Chen Xing said. Xiang Shu, I realized that a long time ago. Why don't they try to provoke me, hey? Chen Xing guessed that Xiang Shu wanted to go to the Longmen Mountains to scout out the area, and as he expected, after the three of them left Luoyang, they rode for half a day before they arrived at the Longmen Gorge. Longmen was called Yuk in the ancient times, and in the early spring period the trees and the mountains were covered in an extremely chilling fog. As they traveled along the eastern bank of the Yi River, they saw that two mountains opened up against each other like 2K, with the Yi River flowing through the middle. On the lower slopes of the mountain was thousands of li of fertile land, and the grasses grew as the warblers flew overhead. It was unfortunate that these were war-torn years, as the fertile fields were no longer tended to by anyone. What do you see? Xiang Shu said. The earth veins, Chen Xing said. They pass through strategic locations throughout the Divine Land. Xiang Shu said from Karasha to Karakoram, then to Chi Le Chuan, is the handle of the Big Dipper, and from there to Yuk is the connecting point to the four places within the Central Plains. Chen Xing immediately answered, correct. This place is where the handle and the body of the ladle connect, in the 10,000 spirits array. The intangible resentment gathered up, traveling along the twin mountains of Longmen that speared into the clouds, turning into a swell of dark wind that gusted through the lands to the north and south. If this was in a time before the silence of all magic, then this place would definitely be the first amongst the spiritual spots in the human realm. Xiang Shu untied the saddle pack from the horse's back, and the three of them sat down on the river bank. There were even dried rations in the saddle pack. There are birds. Chen Xing kept feeling a sense of foreboding. They had run all the way around to behind Wang Zi's back, but this fellow, to this day, had yet to appear in front of them, and they didn't know what he was planning in this region behind him. Xiao Shan, Xiang Shu said. Xiao Shan pulled out a slingshot, but just as he picked up a round rock and was taking aim, the birds that had landed on the flat plain had already long since spread their wings and taken flight. Don't be too nervous, Chen Xing said. They weren't crows. I'm not afraid of us being watched, too much of Wang Zi's power has been lost for that. I'm just afraid. Chen Xing thought of what Guqing had said before she died. That door that Wang Zi craved to open, where was it? Xiang Shu, you're not even afraid of death, but you're afraid of Wang Zi. Chen Xing thought, I'm afraid of the plan failing, but he didn't mention any more on this matter. After they finished eating their food, Xiang Shu and Xiao Shan, one large and one small, stood on the river bank, picking up round stones and skipping them across the river. Xiang Shu picked up a few relatively flat ones and began to teach Xiao Shan how to move so that the rocks flew out even further. In this year, Xiao Shan had shot up rapidly, and he was almost even with Chen Xing's eyebrows now, approaching Xiang Shu's shoulders in height. If he counted on his fingers, Chen Xing figured that Xiao Shan was already almost 14. If he kept going like this, then perhaps when he was 17 or 18, he might be even taller than Xiang Shu. Usually, sometimes when Xiang Shu had some free time, he would out of nowhere spar a little bit with Xiao Shan. In the beginning, Xiao Shan had been spun in all directions, his head becoming so muddled that he couldn't even touch the edge of Xiang Shu's robe, but now he was slowly becoming able to exchange a few blows with Xiang Shu, though he never made it past 2 or 3. Suddenly the two people by the bank saw something, and they both simultaneously stopped moving. "Don't touch it," Xiang Shu warned. "Chen Xing," Xiao Shan said. "Come." Chen Xing was wholly confused, and he got up and rapidly walked to the river bank, only to see a rotting body carried down by the currents. "We have to fish it up," Chen Xing immediately said. "Otherwise, if it pollutes the water source, then it'll cause a plague in the villages downstream." Xiang Shu brought over a grappling hook and dragged that body up onto the river bank. Chen Xing furrowed his brow as he looked it over, only to see that that body was a kingguard, whose head had been ruined, as if something had smashed into his skull with one blow. Was he struck by rocks? Chen Xing looked towards the upstream of the Yi River, his brows furrowed deeply. Xiao Shan lifted up his fist, comparing it with the body, before looking at Xiang Shu. Xiang Shu nodded and said, "He was struck by a fist. Who has this much brute strength?" And saying this, Xiang Shu turned around and flipped up onto the horse. He whistled and took Chen Xing with him as they traveled upstream. The closer they got to the quay, the denser the resentment became, and the air was charged with an icy, evil energy. When they got to the foot of the mountain, they found that there was no path forward, but Xiang Shu discovered a small mountain trail, and so they made their way up onto the mountainside. When they got up high, the resentment had already coalesced into white fog, and not far from them was camped a troop of Qin soldiers. The sounds of broken coughs reached their ears. "Living people," Chen Xing said. The rumors that had spread about Wang Zi setting down the Drought Fiend troop encampment and Fujian sending people to stand guard over it, not letting the Jin scouts approach, were probably involving this place. Even further to the back was a region of expansive forest, while resentment filled the two banks of the river, just in front of the northern foot of the mountains that were like a pair of dragon doors. "Let's go." Xiang Shu had figured out the specific location, and he didn't want to get any closer. But Chen Xing sat on the back of the horse, frowning as he looked towards the two mountains opening up on each other, as if they were two watchtowers standing guard on either side of an imperial gate, thinking about what Guqing had said before she died, about the door in Wang Zi's memories. "What?" Xiang Shu said. "You want to go in and take a look?" Chen Xing shook his head and said, "It's nothing." Suddenly, he had a daring thought. If the mana in the world was still present, then under the influence of certain special spells, would a great, glowing door open here. The next day, Xian finalized his plans and detailed them to the others. Chen Xing knew that although Xian was the person who hammered out the details, in reality, the one who would decide whether or not to do battle was Xiang Shu. According to the martial god's estimate, "We need to finish our battle with Fujian and Wang Zi in Luoyang," Xian said. "The most important thing is to first lure Fujian and Wang Zi over." A little earlier today, Helian Zhuang already sent people over to give us notice that Fujian will arrive in Luoyang on the day of the Duanyang festival, to meet with us. "Very good." Xiang Shu sat in the main seat of the inn. Xian said, "Feng Qianjun is away and has yet to return, so what should we do about his 3,000 troops?" "We don't need to wait for him," Xiang Shu said. "When the time comes, he will return, so just go ahead with your plan." Xian said, "There are two possibilities with Wang Zi. One is that he accompanies Fujian and appears at the same time as him, while the second is that he is hidden in the dark. Through the process of the diplomatic talks, we need to gather up our forces, and with the speed of lightning that strikes its target long before its thunderclap is heard, Pin down Fujian. Xiang Shu and ed. Chen Xing thought, you guys are making this too big of a matter, detaining the ruler of a country isn't something to joke about. Was there really this possibility? Would Fujian bring bodyguards with him? But after thinking about it carefully, with Xiang Shu's skill, this did indeed seem to be possible. Chen Xing said, and with that, Fujian won't be taken to become Chu's vessel. Detaining him is something that is easier said than done, you need to think about the imperial guards. Xiang Shu answered, it's on me, no need to worry. Chen Xing said, when Fujian comes to Luoyang for these discussions, there will be at least 20 or 30,000 people by his side. Xiang Shu said, I said. No need to worry. Do you not understand? Xian immediately followed up. As soon as we get the upper hand, we'll have Murongchang, under the guise of purging evil ministers from the emperor's side, pick a fight with Wang Zi. After that is to wipe out Wang Zi's drought fiend troop, and at that point we'll need to have a group of people split off, transferring Fujian away from there. Xiang Shu said, transfer him to Jiankong? Parade him through the streets. Xian smiled. What I promised you naturally must be fulfilled. I cannot hand him over to His Majesty, so we'll have to temporarily restrain him in Shao County on the south bank of the Fei River. Chen Xing knew that between Xiang Shu and Fujian, there were still a little bit of old feelings left, he didn't wish to see Fujian be humiliated. And after that, the Murong family will have no other choice, they will have to go along with Murongchang to gather troops, Xian said. This is also what originally won Murongchang over to join our alliance, one of the stages of our plan. We need to borrow their troops, and together with ours, face down the drought fiend army in the Longmen Mountains. I don't know if you guys. We've scouted out the specific location, Xiang Shu said. Xian said, during the diplomatic talks, we'll arrange it so that Feng Qianjun's subordinates first hide away secretly, using kerosene and oil cans to clean them out. If it becomes necessary, for the safety of the citizens, we must set fire to the entirety of the Longmen Mountains. This process may not be successful, so we must make preparations ahead of time for the drought fiend army to not be wholly exterminated by that and instead sally forth at full strength. At this time, the Murong clan's army must move out. What about Wang Zi? He's not there for a show. As soon as he finds out something isn't right, he'll act against us, Chen Xing said. Though that Jiao dragon we've already gotten rid of, I suspect that he still has more cards up his sleeves. If he manages to revive some other random great Yaogwai that none of us have seen before, then that'll be troublesome. Xian nodded. Yes, this is the problem that you two will have to face. As of today, he has no more drought fiend kings under his command, and after a detailed scouting effort, we've also been unable to find any officials in Luoyang who could be suspected of being a drought fiend in disguise. According to our deductions, this Shi has troops and generals have already been basically cleaned out. Right now, within the Longmen Mountains camp are the last bit of his forces, and we can confirm that of the ones he has control over, only Princess King He is left. As he spoke, Xian also grew a little frustrated, and he frowned as he continued, the Feng family's scouts have already thoroughly combed everywhere near the foot of The Longmen Mountains, aside from where the drought fiend camp is, without finding any sort of suspicious cavern or altar. Where exactly is the door that Wang Zi wants to find? Chen Xing said, could it be in the drought fiend camp? Xian shook his head and said, the drought fiend encampment is in a valley, and aside from the resentment there's nothing else out of the ordinary. Right now the only variable that can change things is that door. I really hope that, in this last stretch, there isn't some monster that comes out of there. Xiang Shu spread open the map, on which were the notes that Zhonglu had once left. In the center were the twin mountains of Yuk that acted like watchtowers facing each other. Since it was a spot that Zhonglu had once marked, Xiang Shu said, more to himself than his audience, then there shouldn't be any Yaogwai at all there. My guess is that the place that Wang Zi wants to get into has a high chance of being connected with the Dinghai pearl. And anyways, even if he does manage to revive some other strange beast, Xiang Shu continued, I suspect that it won't be harder to defeat than a Jiao. Chen Xing thought for a little bit, before saying, then how will we return the Dinghai pearl to his hand? The interior of the inn was silent for a while. Xian and Xiang Shu exchanged a glance, before Xian suddenly said, why do we need to hand the Dinghai pearl over to him? Chen Xing said, but if we don't follow that path, then we have no way to release the mana inside and get rid of Chu. Xian said, our goal is to have Wang Zi turn into ashes and be wholly destroyed, so that he can no longer make any more drought fiends. Since the martial god is certain that in this battle we can get rid of Wang Zi, then the way I see it, we don't need to pay such a cruel price at all. Xiang Shu interrupted Xian's words, saying, when the time comes, I will take any opportunity I see to carry things out. We can try to offer up the Dinghai pearl, then, pretending mana exhaustion, pretend to faint. Wang Zi will definitely take the Dinghai pearl at that time. After all, Fujian will be suppressed, his drought fiend army wiped out, and the Murong family sees him as a deadly enemy. Wang Zi's manipulations will no longer be able to be carried out. This magical artifact will then be his only hope. Up until this point, Chen Xing thought that this was all very reasonable, and he said, after he gets the Dinghai pearl, he'll return to Huanmo Palace and revive Chu, because he has no other path to take. Then, how will we determine where Huanmo Palace is? Or how will we find our way there? This stage of the plan was one that Xiang Shu had clearly not thought through, but Chen Xing could dimly tell that Xiang Shu was going with his wishes. In reality, he kept feeling that things were not this simple. As expected, Xiang Shu completely hadn't considered the suggestion that he had brought up that night at all, even if that suggestion was one that he himself had brought up first. You guys think about it some more, ba, Chen Xing said quietly. Xian glanced at Xiang Shu. Xiang Shu knew that his own desire had already been guessed by Chen Xing, and he could only stay silent. Chen Xing didn't say any harsh words either. He knew that to make this decision was even more difficult for Xiang Shu than for him, but he must choose to do it. In the blink of an eye, the spring-filled third month came. There was less than a year and a half left between him and his 20th year. According to what you guys saw, Wang Zi left through the earth veins every time you met him, Xian said. His Hunpo can leave his body and possess other people, but if he's bringing along the Dinghai pearl, then he must move using a physical body. Huanmo Palace is at the Fei River, Xiang Shu said darkly. Gu Qing said so before she died. It's just that aside from his own subordinates, Wang Zi won't let anyone in, bringing along the Dinghai pearl. Sometimes I even suspect that that isn't the Dinghai pearl at all. Xian said, if you carefully consider my proposal, then you'll know that despite the danger, it could work out in theory. Xiang Shu said coldly, I won't let Chen Xing also fall into his hands. This way, even though he will be brought to Huanmo Palace, I can still use the resonance of the heart lamp to get in and meet up with him, but on the off chance that he actually dies, then what is the point of what I am doing now? Xian said earnestly, but this is also Shidi's wish, great Chanyu. These Hu people, for so many years, haven't set even one foot in the south, do you know why? Xiang Shu's expression was one of frustration as he looked at Xian. Xian smiled. It is exactly because Fujian can't disrupt this kind of strong faith. And saying this, Xian let out a sigh. He got up and said, after the disaster of Yongjia, even if our path forward is so dark that if you reach a hand out you won't be able to see your fingers, there are still more Han people who are willing to light up a lantern in front of us to light our way. Exorcism is one, returning the light to the land is another, and aren't they very much alike? The light in Shidi's eyes is one that I've seen in who knows how many people's gazes before. He's not the only one. They were born for the sake of their wish, and they can perish for the sake of that wish. They're willing to die for the sake of the cause, and to lay down their lives for justice. From behind him came a huge boom. Xiang Shu had overturned the table, and in a whirl he spun around and left. But just as he was thinking about destroying something to vent the rage that he felt, he suddenly stopped in his tracks and murmured, "He leaves through the earth veins." It was night. "Yours." Xiao Shan handed a letter to Chen Xing. Chen Xing. Someone had actually sent him a letter? Chen Xing opened the envelope, only to see a few slightly wobbly lines of Han characters, and it was signed Tui Bian. At that, he couldn't help but recall those days in Chang'an, when Tui Bian was learning Han characters for the first time in his life, and he had him copy down trudging on and on. And today, Tui Bian had already learned many Han characters, enough to write a whole letter with. "Look, your Fusheng's handwriting is prettier than yours." Chen Xing let Xiao Shan take a look. But Xiao Shan asked, "Do you want to go?" Chen Xing. That letter was written by Tui Bian for him, he wanted to arrange for a meeting with him. Right now. Chen Xing was a little taken aback, he didn't want to go very much. Xiao Shan indicated that Chen Xing should look outside, meaning Tui Bian had already arrived. "I'll go listen to what he has to say," Chen Xing said. "It'll just be for a little while, so there won't be any problems." Xiao Shan hesitated for a moment, but Chen Xing had already taken the lead and gone out. Xiao Shan was just about to get up and follow, but Xiang Shu came swiftly from the direction of the hall. Xiao Shan was a little uneasy as he watched Chen Xing's silhouette moving away, while Xiang Shu furrowed his brow, turning and going out. The warm, gentle moonlight shed its light over Luoyang. Tui Bian was standing under a tree waiting for him, and next to him, a man wearing a bamboo hat stood tall and erect. The hat's brim was pulled down, blocking out half his face, but as soon as Chen Xing saw that physique, he knew it was Mirong Chong. "He's here," Mirong Chong said. "I'm going." Tui Bian immediately turned his head around and smiled towards Chen Xing. "I just knew that you were going to come." Tui Bian stood on the bank of the Luo River and smiled a genuine smile that lit up his face. Chen Xing said, "It seems like you're much better now." "You were right," Tui Bian said. "After spring began, I slowly began to get better." Tui Bian had grown skinnier, but he still had that heroic aura of old, and the color of his face looked much better. Chen Xing began to suspect his own conclusions from before. Could the heart lamp really have helped Tui Bian, causing him to slowly get better? Chen Xing squeezed Tui Bian's wrist for a moment, letting the heart lamp enter his body, but he found no sign of a change for the better, and he couldn't help the furrow in his brow. The poplar tree blossoms drifted along the river like snow as they flew about this way and that in the night wind. Chen Xing let go of Tui Bian's hand, before he suddenly saw a shadow, that was precisely Xiang Shu, who was discussing something with Mirong Chong not too far away from them. "Why did he follow me out again?" Chen Xing was a little distracted, and he said to Tui Bian, "What is it you wanted to talk about?" "Let's take a walk," Tui Bian said of his own accord. After Mirong Chong left, Xiang Shu followed them over. Chen Xing stood there, but just as he was about to say something to him, Xiang Shu said coldly and calmly, "I won't listen to what you two are talking about, I'll just be 20 steps away from you." "You go back first ba," Chen Xing said. "It's such a short amount of time, nothing will go wrong." But Xiang Shu continued to follow along stubbornly behind the two of them. Chen Xing knew that he wanted to keep Chen Xing under his watch, to prevent anything from happening that would result in him being suddenly taken away again, so he could only go along with it. End chapter. Dinghai Fusion Records. Chapter 80. Keeping an appointment. Tui Bian said, "If the great Chanya doesn't see you for one moment, he worries, so why don't we invite him over?" Chen Xing waved his hand and responded, "Up to you." Chen Xing was a little hesitant, he was in the midst of feeling gloomy, and he was afraid that his own emotions would influence Tui Bian, but Tui Bian had picked just this time to find him. The two of them walked by the bank of the Luo River, passing through the poplar tree blossoms that drifted down. Tuibayan reached out his long, slender fingers, brushing aside a poplar tree blossom that had fallen on Chen Xing's shoulder as he spoke. I want to ask something of you, Tianqi. Chen Xing raised an eyebrow, puzzled. Tuibayan thought for a bit, before saying, I lost my father when I was young, and His Majesty has treated me like a father would. I know that I am in no place to say these words, but I understand, Chen Xing responded. Fujian treats you very well. Back then, Fujian had used his status as a ruler, even risking the potential danger of offending the great Chanyu, to personally help Tuibayan bring up such an awkward matter as a marriage offer. This was something that Chen Xing remembered to this day. He imagined that Fujian must be very fond of Tuibayan indeed. I do not wish for His Majesty to be controlled by Wang Zi, nor do I wish to see him be disgraced, Tuibayan said. If it's possible, I'd like to go back and lead the imperial army to protect His Majesty. Could you pass the message on to the great Chanyu, for him to return His Majesty to us when the time comes? Chen Xing let out an N. He thought of the fact that Xiang Shu and Fujian were also old acquaintances, and no matter what, Xiang Shu wouldn't let Fujian be disgraced either, but Xian might not necessarily prevent that from happening. As the representative of his country's interest, when it came time for him to strike a harsh blow, he would have to do so. Xiang Shu would be willing, Chen Xing said, and though my Fusheng might not be, I'll find a way. As long as we can get rid of Wang Zi, then Xiang Shu will also return Fujian to you all, he won't let him fall into the hands of the Han people. And plus, who's going to have the upper hand isn't even set in stone yet. Tuibayan smiled. I will do my best to protect you all. If Tuibayan could talk the imperial guards into rebelling, then they would be a powerful chess piece indeed. The only issue was that it was unclear how many people within the army could clearly distinguish between right and wrong and go against Fujian's orders to pledge their allegiance to Tuibayan. Xiang Shu. Chen Xing said to Xiang Shu. Xiang Shu stood on the shore, lowering his head to watch the water. Because of what Xiang Shu had lied to him about, Chen Xing was still a little sad, and he said, what we talked about. He knew that Xiang Shu definitely heard it. This fellow and Xiao Shan's ears were both very sharp, to the point that every time, as long as he walked over from the eastern wing to the western wing, a distance of some tens of steps, they would immediately be able to sense it. I really didn't listen. Xiang Shu said, a little frustratedly. What kind of a person do you take me for? Talk about whatever you want, I don't want to pay attention to you two anymore. Tuibayan smiled awkwardly. Evidently, he still remembered what had happened under that tree in Chi Li Chuan, and so he waved his hand, indicating that Chen Xing shouldn't argue. Chen Xing didn't know if he should laugh or cry, and he said, then what are you doing? I'm thinking about things, Xiang Shu said. I don't care what you two talk about, keep talking. What are you thinking about? Chen Xing couldn't resist wanting to anger him more, so he said, you want to go into the river and take a bath. Xiang Shu, I'm thinking about how to throw you into the river. In this dead of the night, originally it was Tuibayan who was supposed to meet with Chen Xing, but he hadn't expected to be the spectator as the other two began to argue. He didn't know what to say in that situation either, and Chen Xing could only let Xiang Shu be, walking shoulder to shoulder with Tuibayan as they circled around the poplar tree grove. Xiang Shu suddenly sniffed his own body, before seeing that the two of them had walked off, and he slowly followed along behind. Is it just this matter? Chen Xing smiled. Was it worth you specially taking a trip over here in the dead of the night? If we talked about this when you had free time, it'd be the same answer. Tuibayan began to smile as he said, because he's just like my dad, and to me, he is my only kin. Chen Xing thought for a moment. He understood Tuibayan's reaction and actually, Xiang Shu also didn't want to disgrace Fujian, and even more so didn't have any intentions of handing him over to the Han people. If they started from this point, Tuibayan and Xiang Shu's original intentions were the same. I'll go find Xiang Shu to discuss, Chen Xing responded. It's getting late, you should go back. Tui Yan stood in the middle of the street as he gestured at Chen Xing. On the other end, Xiang Shu stopped in his steps, just as Chen Xing nodded and patted Tui Yan's arm. Xiang Shu had his usual brooding expression on, thinking about who knows what. When he saw Chen Xing coming back, he didn't wait, instantly turning and leaving. After they returned to the courtyard, Xiao Shan stared a little curiously at Chen Xing. Chen Xing thought for a bit, before saying, Xiao Shan, that day, what was Tui Yan asking you? Xiao Shan answered, nothing much, he was just asking how you and Gag were. Where you guys went, and what you guys did. Gag? Chen Xing asked, surprised. Who's Gag? You have a Gag. Xiao Shan pointed towards the hall of the inn, and Chen Xing understood, he was talking about Xiang Shu. He only felt that this was very amusing, and he said, you call him Gag. Xiao Shan, I didn't know what to call him, so he had me call him Gag. Xiang Shu actually had such a side to him? Chen Xing sat down and said, you told Tui Yan everything. Xiao Shan pillowed his head on his arm, his face turned upwards towards the moon, turning his head to look at Chen Xing as he said, I told him that when you were sleeping, Gag took off his clothes and got on the bed to kill you. What? When Chen Xing heard this half of the sentence, his brain instantly exploded as he began to grow frantic. What are you saying? And so Xiao Shan briefly sketched out the scene that day when Chen Xing had fallen unconscious and Xiang Shu had carried him. Chen Xing asked disbelievingly, why didn't I know? You were sleeping. Xiao Shan looked strangely at Chen Xing as he spoke. Of course you wouldn't know. And then? On Chen Xing's face appeared an awkward expression. Xiao Shan, after that I didn't keep watching, so I don't know. Chen Xing grabbed Xiao Shan's collar, saying, why didn't you keep watching? Xiao Shan said, he wouldn't let me watch. He threatened to hit me. Chen Xing put one hand on his forehead as he said, such an important matter, and you never told me before. Xiao Shan said, is it very important? Xiao Shan's tone was exactly the same as Xiang Shu, every answering question carrying a sense of mockery to it. Chen Xing said, you can't keep learning from him, you're learning all the wrong things. Going about like this every day, like other people owe you too money, has he bought your support? No wonder I see him teaching you martial arts all the time. Xiao Shan answered, he said, if there came a day when he died, then I should protect you well. Chen Xing. Oh, Chen Xing said. Is that right? But how can he die? No way, he can fight this well, how is it possible? Xiao Shan, I want to ask you, N. When Chen Xing heard these words, his nose soured. What exactly was Xiang Shu thinking about every day? But when he glanced at Xiao Shan, he changed his mind, and he said, it's nothing. But Xiao Shan said, I said that you don't need protection, but he said that you do. He said that you're very lonely, you're more lonely than anyone else. You haven't seen the good things in life, and you have no family. From the day that he saw you, you've never been truly happy. Chen Xing began to smile as he said, those words aren't true, aren't I pretty happy right now? And saying this, he stroked Xiao Shan's head. Xiao Shan scrutinized Chen Xing, before answering, no, you're just like Liu Ying. It's like you're going to die tomorrow, and even when you smile, it's a little sad. Chen Xing. Ah, whatever, Chen Xing thought. You two are both this skilled at reading people, but I still can live for a year and then some. Don't curse me, all right. What, I'll die tomorrow, hey. The words that Xiao Shan had spoken tonight had given him an ocean's worth of information, causing him to roll around on the bed. What exactly had Xiang Shu done when he was in a coma? But he hadn't felt anything out of the ordinary. He wanted to get up to go ask Xiang Shu, but if he opened his mouth and asked, then it would only get more strange, probably. And just at this time came the sound of someone knocking on the door. "You're asleep," Xiang Shu said. "I have something I want to tell you, Chen Xing." Chen Xing got up. After listening to Xiao Shan's report, he felt very awkward, and he originally wanted to ignore him, but Xiang Shu had already pushed open the door and come in. Chen Xing's upper half was exposed, and he was only wearing a pair of underpants, so he immediately sat down on the side of the bed. Xiang Shu's arms and torso were also bare, and he was wearing a set of long white pants. On his face and body were ice crystals, as if he had just used the well water to wash his face so that he would be clear-headed. "You?" Chen Xing frowned. "I didn't say come in yet. What did Tui Yan say to you this time?" Xiang Shu asked suspiciously. Chen Xing then reported Tui Yan's request to Xiang Shu, and Xiang Shu said easily, "Got it." Chen Xing asked, "Is that okay? I guessed that your original intent was also." Xiang Shu said impatiently, "I said, I got it. Are you unable to understand my meaning?" Chen Xing understood that Xiang Shu's meaning was all right, so he didn't say more, to prevent himself from receiving a beating. "What did you want to talk about?" Chen Xing said. Xiang Shu asked, "Just now, when we were outside, were you telling me to go take a bath? Asking this in the middle of the night, are all of you crazy?" Chen Xing answered. "Coming here to talk to me about taking a bath? It's not that." Xiang Shu couldn't help but become irritable again. Chen Xing chivvied him. "Say it faster, and when you're done, go back and sleep. Look what time it is now." "You?" Xiang Shu instantly grew angry for reasons unknown, and he clenched his fist. Chen Xing said, "Are you crazy? You woke me up in the middle of the night to hit me." Xiang Shu could only suppress his rage, even as he was filled with anger. This brat had talked with Tui Yan for so long without caring about wasting time, but now as soon as he came, he was shooed away, and at that he was about to die from rage. Just as he was about to turn and leave, walking to the door of the bedroom, he changed his mind and said darkly, "If you don't listen then don't regret it, I'll put the words out here." Chen Xing had originally taken the chance, when Xiang Shu turned around, to stare fixedly at Xiang Shu's half-naked form, but seeing that he was about to turn again, he immediately adopted an expression of having been wronged and turned his gaze away. "Then say it. I didn't tell you not to." Xiang Shu took a few steps in the room before glancing over at Chen Xing. Chen Xing looked dumbly and strangely at Xiang Shu, and Xiang Shu finally let go of his anger, saying impatiently, "Just now I was discussing some matters with Xian when we suddenly talked about Shihai being able to leave through the earth veins, and I thought of this point." Chen Xing, "Oh." Xiang Shu sat down on the side of the bed. "I thought of a strategy, but I don't know if it'll be successful. The plan is founded on the basis that Wang Zi's Hunpo can leave his body and move freely about, just let me organize my thoughts a bit." Chen Xing said, "You want to follow Wang Zi and enter Huanmo Palace through the earth veins, right? But if I may be so blunt, the earth veins only accept spiritual bodies, so unless we are able to let go of our physical forms ourselves, it'll never work." "What is returning a soul to a body?" Xiang Shu suddenly asked. Chen Xing thought for a moment. This was something that he had learned before, and he explained, "The spell that he uses for returning a soul to a body has been recorded in the historical annals. For some extremely powerful ghostly beings, their souls can indeed take over living people after death, or be stored temporarily in dead people for a time." Xiang Shu said, "Wang Zi should then be using this method, just like that day when Xian drugged the person he had possessed. The black smoke that was expelled from that body was his 307 po." Chen Xing furrowed his brow and nodded. "Yes, technically speaking, he should be counted as a ghost," Chen Xing said, "or perhaps a set of wandering Hunpo roaming about independently in this realm. I once considered many possibilities such as, why isn't he like other souls that get absorbed after death into the divine vein and return to the cycle of reincarnation? Perhaps he used the resentment in the human realm, and the devil god's blood, to refine himself, so that his Hunpo can leave his body and move about freely. After humans died, their 307 Po would quickly vanish into the world, sucked into the divine vein and entering the cycle of reincarnation to once again be reborn. The resentment and regret within each Hunpo would be cleansed by the spiritual qi of the heavens and earth, as resentment and spiritual qi collided against each other, cancelling each other out. With the power of the Dinghai pearl, Zhonglu had taken away all spiritual qi, which also caused the resentful energy to not be able to be cleansed, meaning that the resentment that Wang Zi had gathered was actually a kind of defensive measure for himself. This proves my conjecture that he was originally a human soul, Xiang Shu said. This is also the biggest reason why he can transport himself through the earth veins and appear thousands of li away, because the earth veins can only take in the power of Hunpo. Correct, Chen Xing said. This is very logical, you're really smart. You've gotten this far with no guidance, and you're actually able to figure out she has original form. In these days, Xiang Shu had studied a lot of the ancient records of the Xiang family, and he was already knowledgeable about the world of the exorcists. In this instant he lifted his hand, unthinkingly placing it on Chen Xing's bare shoulder, saying, "Are there no ways to get rid of Hunpo in this world? Like the transcendence that I once told you about." Chen Xing's words dried up, but Xiang Shu tightened his grip, squeezing his shoulder once, indicating that he should let him finish. Only for Xiang Shu to say, if we really want to completely get rid of him, then we must first expel him from the person or corpse that he's possessing, like what Xian did that day, and in a short amount of time, also prevent him from finding another person to possess, so that he can appear in his resentment-covered original form in front of us. Chen Xing suddenly sensed that perhaps within this dense fog, Xiang Shu had found a path that would lead to their final victory. After that, I'll use the heart lamp to exorcise his resentment. Chen Xing said. But in these long years and months, he must have absorbed a large amount of resentment, so naturally he will revive dead people or Yaoguai to attack us. My safety will be up to you then. Xiang Shu said, yes, your heart lamp can exorcise resentment, but what then? Think about it, after we make him use up all of his resentment, he'll reveal his original form. That will be the real him, the him with only his 307 Po. Chen Xing said, he'll still run to go find a place where there's a lot of dead people, and with resentment as his fuel, he'll cultivate from the beginning once again. I now basically understand, his mana must have been cultivated in this manner for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Xiang Shu said, you forgot? We still have an artifact. Now that I think about it, back then my mother might have kept this weapon specially to defeat him. Chen Xing remembered. The Luohun bell. In an instant, all of Chen Xing's blood seemed to congeal, and a wang resounded in his brain. Xiang Shu nodded and said, the Luohun bell is specially made to deal with Hunpo. The two of them exchanged a glance. Chen Xing said thoughtfully, it could work. This is completely possible. We'll set up some magic to not let him possess anything, and when he's in his Hunpo state, we'll fight with him. After making him expend all his resentment, then we'll wait for when he returns to his original form, and afterwards use the Luohun bell to take away 2 of his Hun. Once his earth and human Hun are lost, his 7 Po will quickly dissipate with no body to contain them, leaving behind only the spiritual Hun, which will very quickly be sucked away into the divine vein to be reincarnated. Even if it doesn't work out like this, he'll still lose all of the memories stored in his human Hun, and he won't be able to recall anything clearly. Yes. Yes. Heavens! Xiang Shu said ponderingly, how much resentment he's collected to strengthen himself is still something we're not clear on. To make him expend all of his resentment is something that perhaps we need to consider more. Chen Xing said, ah ha ha ha, we can help him use it. I think that Xiao Shan and Feng Dage won't have any complaints. How am I this smart? Chen Xing began to praise himself, but Xiang Shu seemed to not hear it at all, as he was still pondering over how probable this plan was. Chen Xing hugged Xiang Shu, shouting, "That's great! That's great!" Xiang Shu instantly stiffened up, pulling aside the arm that Chen Xing wrapped around his neck, but he didn't expect Chen Xing to hug him even tighter. He could only turn his head slightly away, his face burning hot as he said, "I haven't thought it through clearly yet, don't fuss. Let me think a little more. How are we going to make a battlefield where he won't be able to possess anyone?" Chen Xing had also thought of this point. When they crossed swords, as long as Wang Zi wanted to, he could escape at any time, and if he couldn't win, then he would just turn into a meteor and fly away, and no one would be able to do anything about it. Chen Xing and Xiang Shu had the power of the heart lamp in their bodies, so perhaps Wang Zi wouldn't be able to possess them, and Xiao Shan and Feng Qianjun were exorcists, so their hunpo were very strong. But in 100 li radius, wouldn't he still be able to find a few mortals? If he possessed them and hid, then they would never be able to find him. Right, Chen Xing frowned. We can't make a protective array either, since there's no spiritual qi of the heavens and earth to use. So I said you shouldn't interrupt. Xiang Shu said, vexed. He then suddenly burst out, I have it. The yin-yang mirror. Chen Xing. In those short few moments, Chen Xing's emotions had experienced several large ups and downs, and in the end he was so in awe of Xiang Shu that he was ready to get down on his hands and knees in admiration. But with this, Xiang Shu said, the burden you'll have to shoulder will be very heavy. Not only will you have to activate the Luohun bell, but you'll also have to control the yin-yang mirror at the same time. There won't be a problem, Chen Xing reassured. I'll first use the yin-yang mirror, sending all of us and Wang Zi into it, and we can then fight him to the end in the mirror realms Chang'an. Xiang Shu, you really are too smart. Xiang Shu turned his head and gave Chen Xing a look. The two of them were both silent, and Chen Xing's forehead was still furrowed as he thought about the different outcomes of exchanging blows with Wang Zi. Causing him to expend all his resentment was easy to say, but the process would be very complicated. Xiang Shu lifted his index and middle fingers, pressing them on the corner of Chen Xing's reddened lips, before wiping the corner of his mouth in passing. See, I said there would be a way, Xiang Shu said as he rose. I'll think about the specifics some more, but there's no more need to worry. That movement was so quick that Chen Xing hadn't even reacted yet when Xiang Shu turned to leave, leaving behind Chen Xing still staring off into space. But how would they deal with Chu after that? Though, no matter what, if they could get rid of Wang Zi, then perhaps that would bring about a great change. Chen Xing subconsciously rubbed the corner of his mouth. The place where Xiang Shu's fingers had touched seemed to be a little hot. After several days, every time he saw Xiang Shu, Chen Xing's heart was filled with uncertainty, but Xiang Shu's expression had cleared up a lot. The two of them seemed to be in a cold war with each other over some matters of the heart, and they took every chance they had to avoid being alone together. Xian also sensed it, but of course, he didn't say anything. He only regularly discussed the details of ambushing Fujian with Xiang Shu, turning the plan over and over again, planning out all of the possibilities that could happen when Fujian came to Luoyang for diplomatic talks. The Asuka troops, where Feng Qianjun's subordinates would hide themselves, all of these things had to be hammered out clearly, one by one. Every day, Xiang Shu had to listen to Xian bring up countless new possibilities, only to overturn them one by one, and no matter how good his patience was, he didn't want to keep him company anymore, saying, Xian, there won't be unexpected circumstances. Xian said, when people get old, they get long-winded. Martial God, you'll have to excuse me. Luoyang had 50,000 guards, most of whom were troops recruited from various places, and compared with Fujian's well-trained, experienced imperial guards, their involvement in this would be negligible. However, Fujian would never come alone to attend this meeting, he would bring at least 20,000 people with him. Their duty was then to gain control over Fujian during the diplomatic talks and take over the city of Luoyang, before going on the offensive to protect the city. Murongchang, Tuobayan, and Xiangshu would lead the troops to torch the drought fiend army camped below the Longmen Gorge, luring Wang Zi out for a direct confrontation. Wang Zi's jiao was already gone, and Xiangshu had confirmed multiple times with Sima Wei that of the troops Sima Wei had knowledge of, there were only the 6 Jin kings that had been revived in the beginning, Feng Tian, Zhou Zhen from Qi Le Chuan, and Wen Che and that rotten Jiao in Jiangnan. In these 2 years, through Chen Xing's bumbling around, they had first gotten rid of a fellow that he had never met within Mount Longzhong, before picking up steam and heading off on a grand journey with Xiangshu that had actually slowly whittled away about 80% of the enemy's strength, which led to the situation of today where Wang Zi had turned into a lone troop, and he had no other choice but to burn all his bridges and reveal his true identity to Fujian. Now that you put it like that, Xian said, it really seems like Iupiter is protecting little Shidi. See, Wang Zi originally had so many arrangements in place, but in the end, they were all slowly defeated in batches, leaving him in such a pathetic state. This can also be seen as fate laughing at the plans of men. If Chen Xing and Xiangshu hadn't worked so hard along their journey, then Wang Zi would originally have enough power to easily conquer the entirety of the Divine Land. Feng Tian and the 200,000 drought fiends hidden in the yin-yang mirror in Chang'an, the dark Ruran troops at the foot of Qi Le Chuan, the Jiao in Jiangnan, added on top of the main drought fiend troop in Luoyang, then perhaps after the Battle of Xiangyang, the number of drought fiend troops that Wang Zi would have accumulated would be nearing the millions. If he then egged Fujian on to start a war with the south, then sent out all of his troops within that large battle, who would be able to fight back? But without a clear cause, Wang Zi had made one misstep that had led to many more, and his original foolproof game of chess had become a mess. Xiangshu sometimes felt that this fellow had really brought all of the misfortune down on himself. Let's do it just like that, Xiangshu said at the end. I don't want to debate any more with you, Dunyu is almost here. Xian let out a deep sigh, saying, I just pray that my great Jin's ancestors and forebears will protect us. If the drought fiends are destroyed, there's still the battle between you mortals, Xiangshu said darkly. When it comes to that time, asking for their protection won't be too late. There's a bunch of people outside the city. Chen Xing walked in rapidly. Fujian's here, Xiangshu. Xie. Do you guys want to come out and take a look? Fujian had finally arrived as based on the plan, and it was exactly as Xian and Xiangshu had guessed. He had brought along 20,000 imperial guards, and when they entered the city, the citizens of Luoyang came forth to kneel and worship. Murongchang and Tuobayan waited in person outside of the palace to welcome this northern emperor. Xiangshu and Xian and them didn't leave the inn, only standing in front of the windows on the second floor. From this angle, they could perfectly see the scene of Fujian riding a powerful horse into the city. The first thing the imperial guards did after they entered the city was take over the military control of the entire Luoyang city region, reassigning the defenses to ensure Fujian's safety. Hasn't he always been someone who fears neither the heavens nor the earth? Xiangshu jeered. Xian wiped off some sweat and said, It's all right, you see, planning for every eventuality isn't something bad. Xian had run through it many times, and through Feng Qianzhen's subordinates, he had contacted all of the swordsmen hiding in Luoyang, making sure that the imperial troops were all on high alert to weed out any spies, so this move was a natural result of that. The mounted regular attendant has been switched out, Xiangshu said easily, after taking another glance. Do you still remember that guy? Chen Xing stood in front of the window, not speaking for a long time. When he saw Yuan Xin chirping his horse to ride behind Fujian, he felt 100 emotions stir in his heart. I don't see Wang Zi, Xian said, changing the topic. Perhaps he's not by Fujian's side. When will Qianzhen come back? From downstairs came the sounds of movements, and Chen Xing swiftly came down the stairs, only to see that Feng Qianzhen had returned. The matters that you imparted me have all been taken care of, Feng Qianzhen said to Xiangshu. He was covered in the dust of the road, and in these 2 months, he had gone who knows where, but had finally returned now. Chen Xing asked, "What matters?" Xiang Shu asked, "How many?" Feng Yunjun replied, "I did my very best and spent 200,000 of your silver to gather 60,000 people. The rest of the money I used on a lot of fire-spewing mechanisms and kerosene cans, which have already arrived in the west of the city." Chen Xing. Xiang Shu asked, "What about the others?" Feng Yunjun answered, "When I made camp I saw that many troops had come from the north, so they should be arriving at the same time." Xiang Shu asked, "From the 2 sides?" Feng Yunjun replied, "It's hard to say, we'll know in a bit." "Helian Chuang Darren has arrived," someone announced outside. Helian Chuang entered the inn, his face bright with happiness as he said, "Our Majesty has arrived and is requesting the diplomatic envoy from the south to meet with him tonight for a cup of wine and a reception at the 3rd K of the U hour." Xian said happily, "Since His Majesty has come from afar and values the diplomatic talks between the 2 countries so highly, it is a great honor for us, and we will definitely." But Xiang Shu interrupted Xian's words, saying to Helian Chuang, "Jian Tou will be very busy today, so are you sure you want to have a banquet at this time to welcome him?" Helian Chuang hadn't reacted at first, but hearing the words Jian Tou he immediately flew into a great rage. He shot a glare at Xiang Shu, his impression of him was just that of a bodyguard in the Han diplomatic envoy, and he raged, "How dare you? You actually dared!" Suddenly, Helian Chuang began to sense that something was wrong. Fu Jian had just entered the city, but he was already asking to see this group of people, which was unconventional, and when the message came, it was worded as if he was very particular about certain things. Though this handsome warrior had basically not spoken the last time they met, everyone highly prized his views, unless this was some big shot official of the Han people. When he got to that point in his sentence, he couldn't keep going. Xiang Shu said matter-of-factly, "If he's in a rush to see me, then let him come here, where we can talk on equal terms." Xian also hadn't expected that Xiang Shu would suddenly pull out this move, and he said, "Martial God? Since His Majesty has issued an order, then why don't we?" Just at that moment, 2 visitors arrived in the inn in Luoyang. "The 4 seas and the prairies are all the great Chanyu's land, and all of the people under the rule of the Jin dynasty are all the great Chanyu's people," the first messenger said. "I and my ancient Cle covenant troops, under the name of the great Chanyu, Shi Mokan, have come south to fulfill the rendezvous with the number 1 warrior in the world, Shulukong Darren, at the appointed time." Helian Chuang. "The 4 seas and the prairies are all the great Chanyu's land, and all of the people under the rule of the Jin dynasty are all the great Chanyu's people," another messenger said. "I and my Dongying land's Donghua people under our master King Onobayashi, in accordance with the pact that was sworn with the Shola clan under the Yin Mountains and our past relationship with the ancient Cle covenant, have come to fulfill the rendezvous with the number 1 warrior, Shulukong Darren, at the appointed time." Chen Xing stared dumbfounded, and he suddenly remembered the letters that Xiang Shu had dispatched 2 months ago. The 7th year of the Taiyuan era, the 3rd day of the 5th month. Fu Jian had come forth at the appointed time to honor his appointment with the Southern Jin diplomatic envoy for peace talks, but on the first day that he entered Luoyang, a big thing happened in the Central Plains. The great Chanyu of the ancient Cle covenant, Shi Mokan, led the troops of the 16 Hu tribes down south, totaling 20,000 people. Dongying Sonobayashi had landed in Jiaozhou, also leading troops 20,000 strong as he arrived in Luoyang. Fu Jian had never, in his wildest thoughts, imagined that Luoyang would become an isolated city in the span of a single night. Onobayashi and Shi Mokan's armies had respectively blocked the eastern and northern 2 roads into the city, and at the same time the Jiangnan by foot troops had already started to move northward, meeting up with the mercenaries that Feng Yunjun had gathered on short notice. The troops were deployed around Keahu, and the only path left to Fujian was the road west to return to Chang'an. "Now, I think we have enough forces," Xiang Shu said to Xian. That's indeed enough. Xian wiped off some sweat as he nodded. End chapter.